Okay, now we're going to go over what I'm calling the SEO State of the Union. And basically what we're going to go over is the Panda update. We're going to talk about data was launched, what was it, what is it, how to beat it, and then the same thing for the most current one called the Penguin update. So the Google Panda update. So what the heck is it? Or in that case, what the heck was it? Well, it was a Google algorithm update that officially hit on February 23rd, 2011. It affected about 12% of all websites on the web. It doesn't sound like a lot, 12%, but that is a huge amount of websites when you realize how many websites that are out there. That was a gigantic hit. And updates are still going on today about Panda. Even though we're now doing stuff with the Penguin update, there's still Panda updates being rolled out, fairly frequently. The best way I can explain dealing with algorithm updates is if you think of it just like you would think of an earthquake. There's a pre-shock, then there's the actual earthquake, and then there's multiple post-shock or aftershocks, post-update type tweaks. Normally with this, how things happen is Google will throw out a couple of little tweaks prior to the actual release, and those are usually ones that people don't really notice unless you're looking for those types of things. And then the update will happen, and more times than not, Google is overzealous on what they're trying to fix or enhance or correct, and everybody gets all angry. And then over the course of the next few months, Google will roll out new updated versions of the update that change or fix or whatever you want to call the initial update to make it more manageable and more realistic. So the Google Panda update targeted websites with the following attributes or characteristics. Thin content. Now, what's thin content? So prior to this update, you could have like a website that had 300 words of content on it for the whole entire website and have no problem ranking it. You know, you're not going to rank it for the super competitive words, but you could make a nice living ranking websites that had not a whole lot of content on it. Okay, so that was one of the things that kind of got tweaked or updated in the Panda. Sites that had backlinks from known link farms or content farms, or sites that were perceived as link farms and content farms. Link farms or content farms are basically just websites that predominant goal is to produce links, content that has links in it that go to other sites. So what is a real world example of technically a content farm or a link farm? Article networks. Okay. E-zine articles got destroyed in Panda, and I think they're making their way back. But if you are a premium author, or I forget what they're called, like a gold author or whatever, platinum author, you may have gotten an email that said when the first update hit, the first wave of it, they sent out an email that said we are now disallowing anybody from using remote publishing. And the reason why they did that is because they really kind of got, it's almost kind of like the real estate market, what happened to the real estate market. Everybody just got too used to just not having accountability, and people were just posting garbage all over e-zine articles. I would venture to say 85 to 90% of all the stuff on e-zine articles is probably garbage. And they kind of figured out that they needed to rein in their different channels, but it didn't really matter because Google slapped them anyway. So that would be an actual real world version, idea of what a content farm would be. Now there's tons of different, like black hat, which means like less than moral / legal, whatever. There's a gray area in there too, but there's a ton of different versions of content farms or link farms that are black hat, but article directories are the kind of the most real world, most widely known example of what a link farm and a content farm is. And also sites that had a high ad to content ratio, meaning, again, if you had 300 words on your whole entire website, but you had like 75 banner ads, and on top of that, they're all above the fold, which means like the fold is when you have to scroll down to see the rest of the website. Whatever is visible before you have to scroll, it's called above the fold. And obviously the best place to put a banner ad is above the fold. So if you had hardly any content, or your content was garbage, or it was taken from all different places, and you had a ton of ads all over the place, that would be basically a high ad to content ratio. So how do we beat Panda? Okay, first of all, there's probably a misleading subtitle because you can't really beat it. But how can you cope with it? The first thing is you have to add more content to your main sites. Okay, like I said, gone are the days that you could throw up a 5-page website and just go to town and get it ranked and everybody is in love with each other. Okay, you have to add more content. And I used to say a couple years ago, I used to make fun of the people that said you have to have good relevant content that's original and fresh and all that. I used to laugh at that because I used to rank sites that had stolen content from 3 years prior that it was terrible, and I used to rank that all the time. But I'm here to say that thanks to Panda, you really do have to add original content, and as much as you possibly can, as frequently as you possibly can. Now, a blog, if you have a blog and you're somewhat a regular blog poster, you know, you don't have to be like a Ray Higdon who's like this freaking beast and blogs every day, which if you could do that, that's fantastic. I wish I could do that, and I'm trying to do that more on my own site. But just adding regular content, try to not go longer than a week without putting some sort of new content, and try your best to have it be actual text. Videos are fine and that kind of thing, but remember, there's only so much of a video that Google can read, and we talked about that in one of the other videos. So this is another trick. I don't want to call it a trick because it sounds like we're gaming Google. I'll just call it a tip. Another tip is to have at least 750 to 1,000 original words on your homepage. Okay? This is not a license for you to cram every keyword you want to rank for in that content. Okay? This is one of the few cases where I would say write to the actual visitor and not Google. Okay? Write to the actual visitor and not Google. A couple reasons why this is important. One, because the Google spider will get there and it will have a lot to chew on just on the homepage, which will buy you more time for the spider to live on your site. Okay? It's going to say, wow, that page was awesome. Let me go look and see if there's any other pages like that on this site. Second, number two, is it takes a little bit of time to read 1,000 words. Okay? So your bounce rate should go lower. Your bounce rate, if you have analytics or Google Analytics or something like that, is basically how long does someone stay on your site. If they click on it from wherever they clicked on, they look at the page for a second, they're like, nah, that's not what I wanted, and they hit the back button, that's bounce. Okay, Google looks at that. They've always looked at that, but it's even more so now. It holds a lot more importance. Okay, so by having 1,000 words, if the content's intriguing enough or catching enough or sticky enough, is like the catchphrase, I guess, stickiness. If it's that, then you know you're going to have the person on your site for a little bit longer, and then hopefully it leads them into the rest of your sales funnel. But then you're also doing it just for the Google spider the same way. Create content as pages on your site, not just posts. Okay, the lesser of the evils is if you could just do posts, but you can blog every other day, knock yourself out. That's perfect. That's better than the alternative. But if you do have some time, or you really wanted to solidify your site as an authority in your niche, do your blog posts, but also work on putting articles as pages. As pages. Why? Because pages are more permanent. Google knows the difference between a blog post and a page. Blog posts are used to keep your content fresh. pages are used to give Google Spider really good content to index. Okay, so I know a lot of you out there, at least maybe I'm painting with a broad brush, but there's a large majority of people that have blogs, or may have, you know, like four pages and then a blog, like the homepage, about us, contact us, FAQs, or whatever, you know, the standard stuff, and then the rest of it's the blog. That's fine to do, but try to have a section that's called, call it articles, call it news, call it info, call it whatever, and it doesn't even have, those pages don't even have to be on your main nav. They could be in the footer. Okay, so if you're worried about the way that your main nav looks, or you don't really want people to go there because you want them to go through your sales funnel, that's totally understandable. Throw the link to the section of articles in, or the pages, in the footer. That's totally fine. And like we talked about before, new uses for old sources of backlinks. Okay, so like I said, if you remember, like tier 4 links, okay, again, you used to be able to just blast tier 4 links at your main site, and you would rank for, for low competition words, you would rank in hours sometimes. Okay, you obviously you can't do that now. Well, now you need to know that you can still use tier 4, but you need to do what's called like a link pyramid, or sometimes they call it a link magnet, or there's 50,000 different ways you could call it. But basically, it's a tier that tier 4 links link to the things that you made in tier 3, and tier 3 link to the things you made in tier 2. And if you can find tier 1, you link to tier 2 to tier 1. If you don't have any tier 1s, you link to tier 2s to your money site, your main site. Okay, that basically, this is like the dumbest analogy ever, but the mafia, right, or any organized crime, I don't want to leave any organized crime bosses out, so like the triads, or whoever else, the Russian mob. Anyway, what they do is they do money laundering, right? So they clean the trace and the tracks of all the dirtiness of where they got their money from, which is they put it through like legitimate businesses like dry cleaners and stuff, or whatever. It's the same sort of mentality. Tier 4 links kind of carry a stink with them, right? Because they're the lowest of the low. But if you feed them through to tier 3, and then they pass through the tier 3, now they don't stink so much. And then by the time they get all the way up to your money site, they don't really stink at all. They're not like pure, but they're not horrible either. Okay, so just be smart. You can still utilize all the things that I showed you in the last video, or other things that you've picked up that you may think is a dead strategy or doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work the way it used to work, but there's still ways to do it. Okay, so realize what you have to work with and how it would fit in with your new overall linking strategy. Okay, so one of the things is you can't just link right to your homepage and that's it anymore. Okay, when people used to talk about what's called deep linking, which means that you would not only build links that point to your homepage, but you would also point to other inner pages. And it would be like point links to your about us page, point links to a blog post, post links to, you know, whatever. You still point links to your blog posts. Okay, that used to be like a luxury. Like, oh, if I get around to linking to my other pages, that's great, but I'm actually doing pretty well linking right to the homepage, so why bother? Well, you have to bother now, okay? And what the reason why you build pages and not just posts is because pages now give you targeted, keyword-dense little pieces of real estate to link to on your pages. So I have sites that on autopilot, based on my linking diagram and my linking strategy, have like thousands of inner pages that have page ranks of 2, 3. And if you remember, page rank is what tells Google, or what tells you what Google thinks as far as what kind of authority is this site in their niche. Okay, so if you have 100 pages of articles and you interlink to, you build backlinks to each one with the keywords that you're trying to rank for in that article, guess what? Your whole entire site gets indexed. Your whole entire site moves up in the ranking. Can you gain more authority in your niche? The more authority you have, the faster you can rank, and the harder words you can go after. So just realize what you have. Utilize everything to your benefit. Okay, leverage everything. There's old ways of linking you can still use. There's different pieces of real estate on your website that people usually ignore. Don't ignore them. Use them. Leverage everything together. All right. Penguin. Google Penguin. What the heck is it? It officially hit on April 24th, 2012, which was almost about a month ago, almost to the day. And I have to say, Panda I knew about 6 months before it hit. And I usually pride myself on knowing kind of when things are going to happen with Google before it happens. Penguin punched me right in the face. I had no idea it was coming. I had no idea it was on the horizon. So this was a good one. This one, Google won the battle on this one. So I had to do a lot of scrambling and a lot of figuring out what was the deal and what I needed to change or tweak in my strategy to make sure my clients' websites and my own personal websites just didn't take a nosedive. Some sites, unfortunately, did take a nosedive. Others actually went up. So it was a lot of research and a lot of long nights. But it hit on the 24th. This one only affected about 3.1% of all English queries. Queries meaning searches on Google. But 3.1%, you're like, yeah, okay, that's hardly anything. But guess what? If you're listening to this video, you are probably into making money online somehow. Either you have a brick and mortar business that you're trying to do business on the web, you're a network marketer, you're an internet marketer, affiliate marketer, whatever marketer, and you do stuff online. Well, guess what made up the 3.1% of all English queries that they attacked? Make money online. Okay, they went after make money online. Obviously, the pharma stuff that we all get spammed in our email and that kind of stuff. But we chose to be in this industry, and we sometimes have a target on our back. So even though it was 3.1%, it was pretty much 100% of everything that we do online, or we're trying to do. And just like Panda, more updates are going to be rolling out in the future. So these aren't going to be more of like new updates. They're going to be tweaks, slight changes, Google correcting itself. Some stuff might be get more strict. Other things might be a little bit more lax. Only time will tell. And targeted over optimization or web spam. Okay, so what the heck's over optimization or web spam? So keyword stuffing. Okay, so if you remember back in the other video on page SEO, or even in the beginning of this video about Panda, let's say you have that 1,000 words on your homepage, right, or an inner page or an article or whatever, or a blog post, and you want to rank for blue tennis shoes. You can't have the keyword blue tennis shoes jammed into a 1,000-word article like 200 times. Okay. Above and beyond that, even less than that, you can't have it force-fed into the content where it doesn't read well for an actual person. Okay. Again, just as much as like two months ago, you would be able to put an article up that had to do with like running, and just smash anchor text of blue tennis shoes in the middle of a sentence, and the sentence didn't even make sense anymore. But Google counted that. But you can't do that anymore, unfortunately. So no keyword stuffing. The articles or the content or whatever it is you're working with needs to read well for an actual human being. And there is like a loose ratio of like 3% of your target, of the content could be related to your target keyword. Okay, now you remember that doesn't mean your one target keyword could be put in 3% of your overall content. That means, remember before we say we need to diversify our anchor text. Okay, so 3% of the overall content can be loosely related to whatever your target keyword is. And again, we just said that. We were just talking about on-page SEO. Same thing with off-page SEO. I mentioned it before. Gone are the days where you could build 1,000 links that all say the same word or phrase. Okay, you have to mix it up. Look for it's called LSI, latent semantic index, which means what are words that are related to the overall theme of the keyword you're trying to rank for. Okay, you have to figure that out. You could do the little trick I told you about including in the anchor text the word or words in front of and behind your anchor text in the actual content, that kind of thing. But that's what Penguin laser targeted. That's where I got nailed. A lot of my sites got nailed because my anchor text usage was way too narrow. Okay, because before April, I didn't know we weren't going to be able to do that anymore, to be totally honest with you. So I got nailed, and that took a little bit of scrambling. And then narrow link diversity. Okay, so what that means is there's I don't even know. There's a handful or two different types of backlinks you can get. Okay, there's not an infinite amount of types of backlinks you can get. Now there's different platforms and ways to get backlinks, but ultimately you're going to get backlinks through content, or meaning you link to a word that's in a paragraph or blog post, an article, you blast that out into blog networks, article directories, stuff like that, press releases, that kind of thing. Or there is what I call like bare links or straight links, which would be your link in your profile in a forum or a forum signature that you have down at the when you post in forums, that kind of stuff. That would be a way too. You need to spread your stuff out. Like I used to only rely on blog network and a single blog network at that for a long time, and it was awesome, and I made a lot of money and I had a lot of clients. But once Panda hit and all the blog and content farms went down the tubes, that was kind of like a shot across my bow of like, yo, you need to really stop being lazy and diversify your links a little bit. So it's important to utilize the, like I said earlier, realize what you have to work with and leverage it to the fullest extent. Okay, so you want to have all different types of links, saying all different types of things, remaining in the same theme that you're going, your keyword theme that you're going after. But don't just rely on article marketing, or don't just rely on social bookmarking or anything, just one thing. You have to spread that stuff out, or you're gonna get bit pretty hard and pretty fast. They're really Penguin. They're making changes faster than I've ever seen them do. So just try to always remember, diversify, diversify, diversify. All right, so how to beat it, or how to cope with it, I think is what we changed it to. And I think I probably talked about most of these. Okay, vary anchor text a lot. Okay, that's what I was just saying. A cheap way to do this is go to the keyword tool, Google keyword tool, and I'm not sure, but I might be giving out as a bonus a little bot that I made that helps with the keyword tool. That also comes with the video that teaches you how to use the keyword tool. So look to that. But the Google keyword tool is free. All you got to do if you don't know how to get there, you literally go to Google and then you Google keyword tool, and it's always the first thing that shows up on the list. Click that. You type in your anchor text there, and then you hit search, and basically it will give you related terms based on what it thinks your keyword is about. There you go. Take the top 5, maybe 3 or 5 keywords that are related to your main keyword, and there's your varied anchor text. Okay, or like I said earlier, you can use the little trick that I mentioned about including other parts of the sentence as anchor text. And social signals. Okay, I think in the next slide, or sorry, the next video, we're going to talk about, actually it's 2 videos from now, we're going to talk about what I call the snowball effect. Okay, and what that basically means is you can actually get pretty aggressive with your backlinking still. Like people always tell you, don't build so many backlinks so fast. You can actually build as many backlinks as fast as you want and not get penalized for it. And this is, again, another insider tip, but it all revolves around social signals. And what do you do with social signals first? Get the Facebook likes on your blog posts. Get retweets on your blog posts. Get Google +1s. Get all that stuff, okay? Get your URL retweeted out a bunch of times. All that stuff, okay? That is basically giving you the license to go nuts with SEO, backlinking. But you have to do it a certain way, and it's very important now. I cannot stress that enough, okay? And again, link diversity. Remember the tiers of links, okay? All different types. And if you remember the cartoons, now that's one to grow on. I forget, that's one to grow on. I think that was G.I. Joe. I'm not totally sure. I forget. But some closing thoughts. Remember, there's always going to be Google updates, okay? No matter what we do, it's always going to be, I don't want to call it a cat and mouse, but it's always going to be a job to understand what Google's looking for. But if you're able to do it and do it somewhat well, you will always win online, okay? But I don't want, like, I had somebody ask me yesterday, oh, well, is this going to be the end of the updates for a while? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think there's actually going to be more updates. I think they're never going to stop updating because, like I said in the first video, they're in the reputation business. They can't rest on their laurels. Okay, there's always going to be changing media. So don't freak out. Take a step back and assess and realize that every update is an opportunity for you to beat your competitors, because every update there's going to be more people freaking out, and they're going to give up, and they're going to basically open the doors for every keyword that you want to go after. You have every update, you have that much better chance of ranking for it. But no matter what happens with Google, their algorithm will always be a popularity contest model. It might change the way it looks, like there may be more, like I said, social aspects to it as opposed to just bare backlinks. But it's always going to be based on the popularity contest type model, where other people are telling Google basically that your site is worthy to be ranked for whatever. Okay, so hopefully that will bring you up to speed. Like I said, you don't have to give like a 20-minute dissertation on the updates now, but at least you can kind of wrap your mind around it, and maybe even it just sparks some questions you may have. So feel free to ask us if you have any questions or you don't understand anything about it. But that's basically the two most current updates and kind of what they did to us and real world examples of, all right, what did that mean and what do we do and all that. So hopefully that was helpful. And I said I was going to do a longer video than last time, and now it's 27 minutes, so I'm going to stop talking so I could cut off before it gets too long. All right, thanks.